Welcome back to Pack Mentality. It's been a hot minute. Yes, we have taken a slight hiatus due to the move of the gym and all negotiations pretty much all of January. And what's today? Today's recording is on March 1st. Well, dang. So we are officially moved into our new location. We are now located at 16929 Beach Boulevard. We moved from our Edinger location to this one because it's bigger. And today I'm going to talk about why we moved and what it really took, because I personally want to document this for myself so that way I have it in line and just so I can give everyone, especially our current members, full context on the reason why we did it and the process behind it and pretty much everything that led up to this point, because I think it's a rather fun story. Now, I'm not going to go into details about like the whole getting into it, or I would say getting to the spot in this first place, because I want Caitlin on for that because she was a huge part of it. So I want her to share her side of that, all the back and forth and all the different options we had in terms of all the different buildings we had and all the different options we could have taken. And I want her on board for that story. So today I'm just going to simply talk about the reason why we moved and what it took. So pretty much everything that just kind of happened in the last week or so, and also along with the context on the reasoning behind it. So first off, we've been in business now for 13 years. We'll finish up our 14th year this August. Or sorry, we'll be finishing our 13th year in August, which put us in business we'll be starting our 14th year at the end of this summer. And this is our third location. So some of you listening to this have been with us since the very beginning, since Red Wolf 1.0. Then we took over another location for 2.0 for Out of Desperation. And then finally, we're kind of back to our roots and back to a wonderful location for our third version of Red Wolf. So let's kind of give some context here and kind of let you guys know what's going on. Sorry, my voice is kind of being a little wonky just because I've been coaching a lot lately and been on a lot of calls. And so my voice is not at 100%. So just bear with me. So let's go over version 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0. I'm just going to briefly go over this really quick, just so that if you guys haven't been with us this entire time, you kind of know what's going on. So first off, 1.0 was a really epic location. It was really cool. That's where we built our base. That's where we learned kind of how to do everything. The space was big, but the parking lot was small. We didn't have a ton of parking. People would have to park all the way on the other street, and they would have to walk over. While the space was cool and was epic, it was cool with the roll of doors. It was industrial. It wasn't practical long term. And also on top of that, we ended up getting kicked out, and that's an entire another podcast that I will do at another time between that. And some of you have already seen my social media post on it, so you already know that whole story. I'm not going to waste time going into that right now. But we basically learned how to do everything from scratch. We built it from scratch. You know, I put about $100K down to build it and could barely make rent, all that fun stuff, normal business stuff growing up. And then we stayed alive. And then basically what happened is that we were forced out during COVID. The neighbor next door offered my landlord $50K to not renew our lease. And so we were forced to move during one of the worst times for our gym to move. And then so we took this other location out of pure desperation, just because our options were take this location or go out of business. And I was like, screw it. I'm going to go out swinging I remember thinking that, like, I'm going to go out swinging rather than just roll over and die like everyone else I'm seeing it. Like, some people found an excuse to just quit and just give up. And I'm like, that's not going to be me. I'm going to, regardless of what happens, I'm not going to be stopped, and I'm going to find a way to stay open and to keep operating. And I'm going to fight through this and see this all the way to the bitter end. And if I go out of business, at least I died trying. So that's what my mentality was there. So that's when 2.0 was built. And this was where we kind of got some stability. Now, at first, it was extremely difficult. It wasn't that fun, because the rent was really high relative to what we were making. About 50% of our top line revenue was going to service only the rent and the cam charges. Now, the good thing about that, though, was it forced me to become a much better business person. I was not a business person at all when I ran my other location. I just ran it based off emotions. I just kind of made decisions based on what I thought was good. I didn't really look at data. I had no idea what a P&L was. I didn't know any of my numbers. I was just like kind of winging it and just being like, hey, like, we have cool equipment and our workouts are hard, and our coaching was actually good. So we had good service. We had pretty decent equipment at the time. And then when we moved, the issue was it wasn't about how well can we coach anymore. It became like, how well can we, I got a text from Sean. Hey, Sean. It just became to the point where I had to learn how business in order to make more money, in order to just make rent, in order to feed my family, which was quite fun. So, you know, I studied a lot of business. I won't go into the details of that too deep, but started getting mentors, started learning about, sales and marketing, all like the basic business stuff, learned about P&Ls and everything, and went about it from there. And then the community was growing. We had better systems. We learned how to build a much better team. We had better consistency across the board. The community really started to grow as well. As you guys kind of saw that the last year or two is when we really started kind of blow up. And then but even before that, in a way, I knew we weren't going to stay there because it was significantly. So I think at that location, in terms of actual gym floor space, we had about 3,000 square feet, which is too small even for when we moved there. And so I think long term, I knew we were going to move or open another location. That was kind of my mentality, was like, well, if I do for some reason want to keep this spot, I'll go open up another spot about equal size. That way I can kind of spread everyone out. But my decision between not doing that was like, I don't want 2 leases. I don't want to deal with 2 landlords. And also the new space is going to require all this new equipment and build out. So it's going to be easier financially, and also to keep everyone together anyways, because, once you open a new location, it's like you really want to split people up. And so I decided to look for a much bigger location. We had a lot of different options on the table. And again, Caitlin and I will go over that in a whole other podcast on that process. But then that's when Caitlin and I really decided about expansion. So we had a bigger vision. We had, our standards were getting better. Our growth was intentional. Like, we had good systems in place, and we were doing very well in terms of membership and also financially, which gave us the option to upgrade a lot of things down the line. And we didn't want to move just because we were bored. We wanted to move because our standards demanded it. And I'm going to talk about something that I don't really post a lot about, or that I don't talk a lot about, because a lot of times I have to keep things internal or not really speak much about it, especially what my plans are moving forward, simply because that if it doesn't happen, I don't want to disappoint anyone, or I don't want to have, just like anything else, you don't want to have these expectations for that, oh, Matt's going to do this, and then for some reason something comes up, it doesn't get delivered. I just don't want to do that. That's not how I operate. I would rather just operate in silence and then just drop it and be like, hey, something really good is coming, rather than kind of hyping something up and be like, oh, like it kind of fell through. Like that's just awkward. So like I said, I don't post about this. I don't really talk about this, but this was the hardest part, was that, like now it's like I'm posting about on Instagram, about the new building, the ceilings look great. That was a huge project that we got through I don't know how we pulled that off, or I should say the contractor pulled that off. The walls look great. We have a lot more wall space for handstand push-ups, and we have wall space for the rigs, and we have better storage. We have more floor space. We have, we posted like the "We Did It Together" moment, which is great. Brought the community together to help, and that was fantastic. But the issue is that I haven't told you guys the whole waiting game about the 5 years that actually led up to this point. And it was the 5 years of I didn't know at the time, but it's always subconsciously, it's like, you're not going to stay there. So for 5 years, looking back, even when we first moved in, it was like, I wasn't super happy with the space. I wasn't, going from, a 5,000 square foot industrial building with 30-foot ceilings that looked cool and it was badass. That was really tough to move into a small 3,000 square foot space. Now, the benefits was that there were showers, and it was on like a busy street corner, so that was nice. That was really good for getting our name out there more. But at the end of the day, I knew we were going to leave that spot, or at least open up another location. And but I really knew in the back of my mind we were most 99% going to leave. And then the hardest part was choosing patience over impulse. Now, I can be an impulsive person. Like, I like upgrading things. I like my Gucci gear. I like nice Rogue stuff. Like, I prefer buying only Rogue because I like things to match. I like things to be coordinated. I like things to have symmetry. And it was 5 years of really holding myself back and holding the line to make sure that I didn't overstretch myself on a building as financially, or upgrade a building that I knew that there was a good chance we were going to leave. Again, didn't know 100%, but I knew that there was probably a pretty good chance that things were going to go, that we were going to go. And I don't know how hard, or I don't know if you guys know how hard that was for me. That was extremely difficult. And I know that there were people who were upset that I didn't upgrade the space, or I didn't fix busted equipment, or things did happen, or like another good example of this right here is just those freaking bathrooms. I hated them. Even the bathrooms here, we plan on remodeling, but that's a project at a later time, which I'll go into. But the bathrooms in there, they had some sort of wax over the slate, and we tried cleaning it. We tried scrubbing it. We even brought in someone who would strip it for us, and they're like, no, we need something heavier duty. It's going to cost like, $3 or $4 grand just to strip it. I'm just like, what? And I'm just like, oh my God, I wanted to retile it. I looked into retiling it. I looked in like every little last bit. And the tenant before us quoted in some wax. I don't know. I don't know why they did that, but they're idiots. Anyway, yeah, I hated those bathrooms with a passion. They were just so hard to clean because they were just stained, and essentially they were clean, like in terms of cleanliness, but they just looked dirty, and I hated it. But I knew, again, it's like, why am I going to drop $2-3 grand when we're going to leave in 2-3 years? That was a really hard thing to do because I knew it was below my standard, but I knew that I'm going to just live with it because I know that I have a plan, and I'm going to allocate as many resources to that plan that I can, so I don't waste time or money upgrading a space that will eventually not be mine. And that was really hard to stop myself because, there's other things, like every time something broke, every time a piece of equipment needed to get serviced, even though we still fixed it, we did the bare minimum. Every time I wanted new equipment, believe me, you have no idea. Part of it was we couldn't fit anything else in the gym because it was pretty small. So I was like, how are we going to fit anything else in here? I wanted more GHDs. I wanted more ski ergs. I wanted to, add better stuff. We need more squat racks, etc. But I'm like, where are we going to put it? And also, why am I going to order all this stuff if I know we're going to leave? I'm just going to have to move it. It's more stuff for me to move, more stuff for me to service when I could just order it again when we move to our new location, which we've already done. And yeah, that required a lot of restraint, which was tough. And then, I wanted to upgrade it because, you have that sense of thing where when you upgrade something, you have that sense of momentum, like you get something, like a new car, and suddenly you're very incentivized, or you're really excited to like clean it or, keep it nice. And, just like with anything else, it's like you have that new item that you really want to care for and make it your own. And so I had to stop myself because I knew we weren't staying. And for 5 years, every decision that I made was calculated. Every dollar was strategic, and every not yet was very intentional. And at the end of the day, that kind of patience, it really doesn't look ambitious. It looks boring. It looks lazy. It looks like nothing is happening. But at the end of the day, everything is happening. It took a lot of restraint. And then at that time, about 3 years before the move, we actually started planning, or I started at least poking around and seeing what we could do, at least getting a read on what it looked like in terms of price per square foot, what buildings were available, zoning laws, all that stuff. I started kind of getting a head start on that because I wanted to be able to fully execute once we got closer to that end of that timeline. And I want to be in a good position financially as well. So, for example, we did rate raises, we changed our billing cycles, we added build and burn. We all did all these things because we knew we could carry that over into our new space and upgrade the equipment at that time when we did move into a new space, which we finally did a week ago, thank God. And we knew we could build out much better programs and service. So all that was strategic into building out what we currently have today. And I know that was hard for not only myself, but I know that could be frustrating for other people and other members, just simply because I hate that feeling of when I know we could be doing something better. And I know some people noticed that, and I couldn't tell them exactly what was on what was on the horizon because I don't want to make promises, like I said earlier, and not be able to deliver on that. So I know that can be frustrating, but that's an unnecessary thing. That's just a feature of doing business, is that sometimes you just have to be patient and just allow, what I would say is sometimes a fire to burn a little bit, and just know that the day, the sunrise is officially coming. And sometimes the hardest move is simply not making a move. And that's really hard. And that's hard, I know, for a lot of you listening to this. I know it's really difficult for me because I always feel like progress should be linear. Like, you should always be doing better. You should always be climbing. And, fitness is a similar way, is that fitness isn't linear. It's like you're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have trips. You're going to have times where things go really well and things don't go really well. You're gonna have PRs, you're not gonna have PRs. You're gonna feel great doing muscle ups one day and handstand push-ups, and the other day you're gonna feel like crap, like you've never done it before in your life. And the same thing applies for business and in life, is the fact that the hardest part sometimes isn't necessarily making progress or even doing the hard things. A lot of times it's doing nothing and just kind of like resting, right? Those of you who have been injured before, those of you who like hate taking rest days, that I'm the same way. I hate taking rest days because I always feel more productive and I feel better when because I feel like I'm making progress. But then when you restrain yourself back and you hold yourself back a little bit in order to make progress, or holding yourself back because you know something better is on the way. And that is the true test of if someone is truly mature in their growth. And that was a very difficult thing for me, and I'm really glad I learned that lesson the hard way. Like every lesson I've ever learned, any lesson you learn the hard way, you'll obviously remember. And 5 years of patience led to this moment, led to that move last Saturday, 8 days ago now. I'm recording this on a Sunday afternoon. This is right around when we were setting up the gym a week ago, and I can't believe how fast we did. And I cannot thank you, all you members who helped us enough. Like some of you stay, like, I can't thank the coaches enough. All my coaches were here all day Saturday and Sunday to help. Torin and Dara helped us clean and get everything taped and ready to go so we could operate on that Monday. Aaron was here all weekend. Krista was here all weekend. Caitlin obviously was here. We had members show up all Saturday and Sunday to help us mount the rig. Kevin, Parker, Shane, and Will stayed Friday night and stayed for 4 or 5 hours unbolting everything while I was at home with the kids and taking care of them. And they were doing all that for us to get prepped for the move. Like we couldn't, this really was a full team effort. And I get uncomfortable because a lot of times people give me a lot of credit, or I'll get DMs from people and they're like, "Oh, congratulations. Like, I can't believe you did that. Oh, like, it must be so cool, to have such a great community," which it is. But at the end of the day, like, I couldn't have done it without all the help. Like I had, I am blown away by how much help we had. And I'm so happy that I spent a lot of money on lunch because that's the least I could do for all the help I got. We moved the gym in about 2.5 hours from when we got there. Like I had to bump up. I talked to Sandal, one of our members, was helping us get the burgers because she runs the Grinders Burgers with her husband Ryan, and Ryan's an awesome guy, by the way. Grinders, hands down, best burgers in Huntington Beach. So shameless plug there for you guys. Please go over there and enjoy their food. We'll be ordering breakfast burritos from them for the gym as well for our Founders Club event. And we had to bump up the food to like 10 a.m. I think 10 or 10:30. It was like, oh man, we were expecting to have the food around 11:30. We're like, oh man, maybe we're probably still moving stuff. We might time it there because we thought we might have everything moved around 2 or 3. And then we actually ended up having almost everything moved by 10 a.m. From 7 to 10 a.m. we were pretty much settled in. There was not much else to do. And so we ordered food and everyone pretty much ate. And then some people stayed, and we didn't really need that much help anymore because all the bulk stuff was done. And we just went from there. And, we had Randall brought his trailer, Matt Uding brought his flatbed. Like so many people brought cars, people brought minivans. We put seats down. Like I cannot thank you guys enough for that. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you. It's a really good reminder of, why I should keep doing this and stick with it, because I have so many people backing me up who believe in me. And not often do you get to run a business where your own members are stepping up to help you on their Saturday, on their day off, when they don't have to be here and they still chose to be here. So I cannot thank you guys enough. If that's not a representation of what a CrossFit community should be like, I don't know what is. Like I'm baffled that many people showed up. And I can't stop thinking about it or talking about it. And so 5 years of patience led to that moment, and I don't really talk about that part. And that's the part that builds something real, is having that kind of patience. And I'm pretty much at a loss for words for that. I don't know what else to say other than thank you guys for bearing with me through those 5 years at that location, and stepping up when it was time. And I'm really glad. I've got nothing but great feedback from our new space. And I'm really happy that you guys are happy, because ultimately this was for you guys. And because of your support, we're able to do this. Now, strategic reasons why we moved, I'm just going to go over this, is that So we outgrew the space. That's logical. We already talked about that. We had cash flow limitations because we can only have so many people per class. The new location allows us to expand on that. Allows us to have a better equipment storage, better layouts, more room for people for barbells. We have this lovely about 90 feet of turf in here, which is great for doing high rock stuff and just doing sled work in general. The part we we had some constraints also with some other legal stuff with the last location, which I'm not going to get into. Caitlin and I will go over that, like I said, in another podcast. And then there were just bottlenecks during peak hours. Like we all know that even here at this location, 5 and 6 a.m. is very busy. Weekends are very busy, so we're still working on mitigating that and making sure everyone's happy. And then there's always going to be pain, right? So you in business, that there's always pain. You can have the pain of getting worse and shrinking in business. You have the pain of being stagnant and never making progress. And we have the good kind of pain, which is the pain of growth. But nonetheless, it's still a pain, right? It's still growth still creates friction. You still want to make sure that you have the same quality service that you had when you only had 10 people in class, but now we're servicing up to 23. Very efficiently, but we just want to make sure that the same connections, that we know everyone's name, that we know everyone's strengths and weaknesses, that we know we can keep progressing people in the right way, that we still can have one-on-one coaching time, regardless of how many people are in class, that we're just not kind of a churn and burn kind of style group training gym. We still want to have those touch points with everyone, regardless of what membership you're on, is that you're still paying to be here, and we want to give you 100% of our effort regardless and deliver value with every interaction. And friction gives us information, which is great, because when things aren't 100% perfect, it allows us to get feedback, not only from you guys, but also allows us to get feedback from, what our layout should be. How can we utilize this to where people have access? That's a really tough thing right now that we're working on, is making sure that people can get into the class that they want, regardless of the class time. And that's something we're still constantly working on, trying to improve and making sure everyone has a 10 out of 10 experience. And then we also wanted to raise a standard, like I said, like equipment needed to be updated at our location, but I didn't want to do it because I'm not going to drop a ton of money when I don't know where we're going to be. Because the issue is, if you drop, as a gym owner or a business person in general, if you upgrade too early with either equipment or whatever it is you have, is that when you do decide to move, especially when you run a brick and mortar business, you don't know how the setup's going to be. So for example, I was really close to upgrading a lot of those rigs at our former location, but I was like, I don't know if I'm going to need this at the new one, because I plan on wall mounting, which is exactly what we did here. So we actually didn't need to order any more rigs. Like, there's still stuff we need to order and make sure that we have set up in place, but overall, like, we didn't really need to order any more rigs, surprisingly. Like, we actually had to get rid of a lot of it. Like, I'm in the gym right now, I'm just looking around. I'm like, since we wall mounted, because the last rigs were freestanding because there were steel studs. Here, we were able to put a stringer across, and we were able to mount it into the wall itself. And then the other side that wasn't being used at the last gym, we were able to repurpose that and make another rig in the back. And so now we actually gained a lot more space. And then, so now our new space allows for a smarter layout. There's obviously better lighting. Like, we're not being blinded by those LEDs. We actually got a much better electrician this time around to help us out with putting in some really fancy dimmable LED lighting. We have a cleaner presentation. We have designed defined zones for training, especially for build and burn. That was a huge upgrade, which is exactly specifically what we're looking for. It was a personal training area and a build and burn area for people, to where either during or after class or before class, whatever, is that people could train and not feel like they were interrupting anything. Because I know that was a problem last time, was a lot of people didn't want to do the program because they just felt like there's not enough space. And I agree with them. Like, I wouldn't want to do that either. If I don't have the room to do it, why am I going to pay for a program? It makes no sense. So that's why we built out a whole space over here, and we actually, if you're watching on the video, you can actually see it's right back there. And we're not even done yet. This is just phase one. For those of you listening to this or watching this, is that this is just phase one of our build out. We have other projects coming in. We just needed to get this space up and running to where we could have the bare minimum of just running classes. And then we also didn't really want to invest a lot in stuff right away, because we wanted to see how class flowed. We wanted to see if we wanted to, it takes a while, because you want to see where things get stored. You want to see where people naturally gravitate to. It's kind of like what Walt Disney did at Disneyland. He didn't start with sidewalks. He actually kind of let people just walk around. And then once people made consistent foot imprints improvements everywhere, that's when he started paving those areas for sidewalks. And so we're kind of doing the same thing here, where we're just kind of testing and seeing how everything goes in terms of where everything's going to be looking for the flow of not only the classes, but for storage. And we want to make sure that we use the space as efficiently as possible, because floor space is a premium, especially in a CrossFit gym. We have much better, cleaner presentation. I really feel like it reflects the service that we provide. It's a much cleaner gym, much better looking aesthetically, which is exactly what we've always wanted. And then we're going to have it, which also includes a better onboarding experience for those of you who aren't members. It's going to allow for us to give you a much better experience overall for getting started at the gym itself. So if you're serious about growth, and this is, we wanted to have an environment that actually matched that for you. And, there's this overwhelming responsibility that we have towards our own community, which is, we don't want to build something out of pure ego, but we do want to build something nice that, people pay good money to be with us. People, I don't care how much you're paying to be at my gym. I want you to have a 10 out of 10 experience regardless. Like that's without a question, because I really do love CrossFit. I love fitness, and I'm very passionate about this. This is why I'm here 7 days a week. I'm recording this at 2:43 p.m. on a Sunday, because I want to give you guys as much information and context as possible, because I believe in being transparent and having awareness for everybody on my decision-making process, and also letting you guys know that I genuinely care about this, because I want to provide a better service. I want to provide better structure. I want more opportunities for our members. I want more room for events, specialty work, and development, and growth is something that is my responsibility. At the end of the day, I'm at the head of the helm, and I want to make sure that everyone gets the experience that they come here for. And there is a lot of risk in this. There's always risk, right? Anytime you're in business, there's a lot of risk. So the full transparency here is that we put over $100,000 into this place just to get it built out, and that's just phase one. We put over $100K into equipment, and to build out, especially the ceilings themselves, cost around $63,000, and I'm paying the contractor today for that. So you have gone into a lot of debt in order to do this, and that's fine with me, because I've clawed my way out of debt the first time when I opened the gym, and I can do it again. And this time I actually have members. So the first time I did, I had zero. So this time around, at least I have members, and I have no problem working 7 days a week in order to pay that debt off. So that way we have a wonderful place for the next 5 to 10 years, depending on what we want to do next. And yeah, moving everything in one day was quite a task. And again, Caitlin will be on another podcast with me. We'll talk about that, but cannot thank you guys enough for helping with that. So we moved the gym in one day. We moved it on a Saturday. It took us a few hours, and the next day, Sunday, we set it up. A lot of you came in, helped us bolt it bolt the rig in there. We anchored the rings and everything into the ceiling, and pretty much we were ready to go. We just kind of get some organizing. We cleaned it up. We put the tape down, and we were pretty much ready to go operationally on Monday. Caitlin was here late, almost till midnight on Sunday, getting it all set up. I was at home with the kids, but I was pretty much here until 5 o'clock on Sunday as well, 5, 6 o'clock. And yeah, I helped the contractors, and that was fun. And payroll still hits, bills still hit, and doubt still whispers, because we still have the walkthrough tomorrow with our last property. So hopefully we can get a lot of our deposit back, I'm hoping. And then, and expansion does feel unstable. It does, especially right before, because you don't know how it's going to go. Even though it's kind of like, it reminds me of that one time when, or not that one time, but that time when I asked my wife to marry me, when I asked Caitlin to marry me, I was still nervous. Even though I knew she was going to say yes, I was still like, oh, what if that 0.000000000000000000001% chance that she says no, even though I really knew in the back of my mind she wasn't going to say no. You still get nervous, right? Even when you do anything, every once in a while I'll still get nervous when I coach a new client, or I coach a class I haven't coached in a while. I still get kind of nervous, even though you've done it 1,000 times. It just comes down. It's just simply because you care, and but afterwards you feel amazing. It feels great, right? You're like, oh man, why'd I make it out to be that bad in my head? And I think we always make things out a lot worse in our heads than they actually are in reality with the execution. The hard part is actually executing, but once you get through that, you're like, oh, wasn't that bad. I can do it. Kind of like a workout where you don't really want to do the workout. You come in, you do the workout, and you leave, and you're like, I'm really glad I came. Really glad I did that. Wasn't as bad as I thought it was to be. So moving on with the day. So, but at the end of the day, comfort isn't the goal. It's longevity and doing something that reflects the level of service that we provide. So what does this mean for all of our members? Well, it's not just a new address. It's just that we set higher expectations for myself, for the staff. We set higher expectations for you guys. We want to build a stronger culture. We want clearer standards. We want serious growth. We still want to grow the gym, but we also want to make sure we're taking care of the people who got us here in the first place. So we have a lot of other things in the works that will provide a better value and service and experience for you guys. A lot of you guys have already done this, and it goes without saying, but Founders Club was a huge hit. We actually accepted a few more people than I should have, just because we do want to keep the group small, because it just comes down to how many people we can actually service, and we want to make sure that the quality stays high with all the people who purchased that. So we still have a few people. We still have a few more spots I may release to the public, but I want to knock some of these out first, or at least get ahead of some of the sessions before we get further into that. And yeah, Red Bull 3.0 is definitely not built for average. I mean, we were never built for average in the first place, but we definitely aren't built for average now. And if you're someone who's serious about growth, this is definitely the place for you. And it's if you're looking to level up, well, I can't think of a better place, because I do my best to hold myself to a high standard. I hope you do yourself the same. And, I don't want to be average. I don't know about you, but I hope you don't want to be average, because average means that 50% of the people are better than you, 50% are worse than you, and you're right in the middle. So I don't know about you guys, but I don't wake up every day and being like, you know what? I really would like to be average. It sounds great. I didn't think so. I know you guys aren't like that. So let's wrap up with this. The real question is that, even though that you're listening to this, you may not be moving buildings, you may not have a business, and that's totally fine. But you have other battles that are just as intense and as important as the battles that I have fought as well. But where you're in life and there are times where you're just going to have to be patient. Like I was patient. It was hard to be patient for those 5 years. And I know we always talk a lot on the podcast about making progress and doing this and doing that and telling you guys what to do and giving examples of what to do and how to do it. But sometimes patience is where real progress is made. And that is a very difficult thing to swallow. And sometimes you just have to pause and just let the fire burn a little bit. Like there's a fire to put out, but we're not going to put it out now. And that's really tough to do, especially as someone who likes putting out fires, and I'm really good at finding problems. Yeah, 5 years of patience, man. And sometimes the boldest move is restraint. And a lot of times the loudest growth actually happens quietly. And I know that a lot of you are building things right now in your lives as well. And you're building something that nobody else sees. And that's what I was doing as well. And I know that feeling. And I know that if you're doing that right now, that I'm right there with you and I'm rooting for you. So that's it. Thank you guys so much for listening. And we're back to pack mentality. Thank you guys for your support. And we're going to be ramping up the podcast productions because we have this sick new space. I'm going to be filming the podcast here in the gym from now on because it just looks cool and I like it. So if you do me a favor and share this with a friend or leave me a review, I'd really appreciate it. Until next time, good luck, have fun, and nailed it.